When someone thinks of railroads that haul freight in the northwest Louisiana region, the first thoughts would be Kansas City Southern, Union Pacific, or maybe even the L&NW. But there happens to be another railway in the area that's been hauling freight for over 40 years. That line is known as the Soo Line, model railroading at its finest. In early April, I was welcomed with open arms to visit and film the weekly Thursday night operating session. For more than 4 decades, progressive versions of the HO scale Soo Line Railroad have been entertaining operators on a near weekly basis. What started out in a garage in Bossier City has turned into an empire that exists today. Richard Kam and others, including Mose Cruz, eventually moved from the garage to a building tucked away in a subdivision in Blanchard, Louisiana. That iteration of the Soo Line was a testbed for the CTC-16 system developed by Keith Gutierrez that would eventually be the push to get digital command control into common use. Computerized switch lists and home-built CTC systems were operating here in the 1980s. Later in that decade, the push came to reinvent the Soo Line one more time in an upstairs edition and a following add-on, Find Us with the Soo Line Railroad that we see today. Unfortunately, Dr. Kam passed away this past January after a brief illness, but his legacy lives on with continued weekly operating sessions. Over the years, Kam and Mose Cruz and others contributed to the track plans and an operating scheme that provide a flexible mix of heavy switching, mainline through freights, yard jobs, and branch line actions for many skill levels. Richard always wanted for people to not only immerse themselves but have an enjoyable time while doing so. The trick was to always extract the fun part of railroading and inject it with enough flavor of mainline action through the use of radio communications, a full CTC panel, along with an operating philosophy that mixes enough prototypical features with model railroad theatrics to keep operators entertained. I've seen various pictures and short YouTube videos on the Soo Line, but I have to say, looking at this layout through a computer or a mobile device screen does not do it justice. This place is just something that you have to see in person. The amount of pieces of rolling stock, locomotives, and detail and scenery is truly unreal. More than likely you'll feel like a small kid again once you enter the Soo Line, and you won't want to leave for a little while. The man who reached out to invite me had a good term for what new people receive when on their first visit. I believe he called it the Soo Line Euphoria. Pretty accurate if you ask me. One of the features that Dr. Kam wanted was for the railroad to never truly be finished. He looked at it as a lab for ideas and trying things out. The Soo Line has broken many of the so-called rules in model railroading, only to break some more later on. That spirit continues today as LED projects, painting projects, multiple new signal system updates, and overhead lighting are being updated, but it doesn't stop operation. It's a high green every single week. Not long ago, the question was raised to the members of this group. Why do people come back to the Soo Line week after week? The number one answer was the fellowship with fellow train lovers. While the UP, KCS, BNSF, CP, and all the other railroads may have their ups and downs, the Soo Line never has a shortage of any traffic. Now this video was just the bare bone basics of the impressive Sulan. In an upcoming video, we'll look at some of the operational features that the operating crew of the Sulan has learned over the last 4 decades, along with an in-depth tour over the layout. This barely scratches the surface of this impressive layout. As always, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and huge thanks to the Sulan for having me over. This is a great group of guys who all share the love for the world's greatest hobby. I'm really looking forward to showing y'all the grand tour, but until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you somewhere along the tracks.